Comes. All right, we're going live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody. Hey, we are here with another podcast for mental health awareness. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. It is May 22nd, 2023. This is another episode of JAWS Coffee Chat with Jennifer A. Whitaker. We'd like to
Great.
give a special thanks to Lawrence Wingate of Wingate TV, Marcus Hart of Transform U Media, Zach Clayton of the PAC Channel, and Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, all for replaying our shows on their platforms. Please be sure to share, like, and subscribe to our social media pages, groups, and YouTube channel, or wherever it was that you found out about us. Now I'm going to turn it right over to our fearless leader, Jennifer A. Whitaker. Take it away, lady.
Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us again for another show of JAWS Mental Health Awareness, making ourselves more aware of everything related to mental health from ourselves and to the world around us and all the other areas related, including coping and everything else. Let's get through this. Let's survive and let's live our best lives. Well, let's start with the recognition of a very comical event that just happened.
Oh no, what was that?
For some reason, EJ thought it was still the 20th century.
Oh, you caught that, did you? I thought I snuck that.
Yes. Yes,
2023, 1923. Hey, you know, it's all the same.
1923. If it was 1923, why do I not remember falling off Titanic?
Yeah, well, you know, I stumble over my tongue sometimes. It's all good.
Yeah, it is. Great way to bring light.
I bet nobody else would have noticed it if you hadn't said something.
Come on, we got to make a light out of stuff. You know, we can't be too serious.
Oh yeah.
Hey, it shows my age too, that I was around in the 20th century.
But not that.
To remember saying 19 whatever and to be like, oh my gosh, she's still saying 19.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's 2023. No. Like we even have 19 months.
Yeah, right. I don't know if the world explodes the way it's headed, it might turn into us having 19 months.
That is something though, because you know, a lot of people are bothered by a lot of these global and environmental issues we're having. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think the pandemic alone was to blame for a lot of this mental health issues escalating and, you know, broadening, because at the same time as the pandemic, where we had all the like COVID, there was a whole origination of the pandemic before the economic and other crises, right, that came along, that one of the things that rose to the table to even hit politics and, you know, different lawmaking groups, right? Mm-hmm. That we were in actual global warming, coming to the real need for climate change to realize we actually are limited on how much oil we can produce, because natural resources related to that are leaving. And other natural resources are leaving, like fresh water's abundance, because we get more filthy water, because a lot of fresh water originates in the north or southern poles that have ice that's melting and all these other things, right? Mm-hmm. So how many people probably have more anxiety now? Not at this point, it's because the pandemic's over and we're probably just back to our regular lives within the certain new norm, like majority of stuff being done virtually and stuff, right?
Right.
But still, that is that new norm. We're dealing with more awareness of I could die any moment because I could have lung cancer or lung disease because I'll walk on a road that has heavy traffic and I'm breathing in that polluted air.
Exactly.
And then that
Not to mention
polluted
you could
air,
get hit by a truck.
yeah. But
Oh wait,
it's
this isn't the comedy show. Sorry.
no good one though. I like it. When people are depressed, humor is always a light.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But think about that. I mean, we're now having more issues that relate to pollution and illnesses that are results of those, even though they're not the focal point. And that's why we have, if you notice when you watch TV, there's so many lawsuits. You know, did you end up with asbestos after, thinking of these mining things? You remember that commercial?
Right. That and all
That's a
the
law
water
a law
pollution down
firm.
in Camp Lejeune. Yeah, all the North
Yeah,
Carolina water pollutions in Camp Lejeune.
yeah. And then
Yeah,
there's
there's all sorts
others.
of stuff.
There's others in Texas related to oil, but still that there's all these lawsuits of where the government is paying us money uh, that for basically lack of health. We were robbed of our health
Mhm.
in some way that had some connection to the natural environment.
Right.
Yes, it probably had to do with also the lack of awareness at the time, like the coal mining, and they didn't know back in the days about asbestos and all. But
Mhm.
still, that there's other stuff that has to do with the more modern history of lung cancer and other cancers becoming more common. Or if it's not cancer, it's diseases in the lungs and the heart and stuff related to breathing in polluted air, in addition to skin cancer getting more common because of the destruction of the ozone. I mean, so much beyond just COVID itself happened as a result of the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, think about all that. So that's probably part of it. Is that now we've got, oh, well, now I have to be more careful of that sun over there, just coming in my
Mhm.
window because I could get skin cancer, especially if I'm one of those like me personally. I sit outside, and you know how sometimes you see me at the coffee shop and the tree right behind me and all,
Mhm.
and I'm in direct sunlight while doing this. Well,
Yep.
I don't have to be in the sun as far as the way normal people see it. But then there's also people like me where their healthcare provider tell them they need to get in the sun so they won't get depressed
Right.
because they need that natural source of happiness.
Yep.
And there's other things. There's some people like we talk about exercise and physical activity being good for the brain and the mental health, not just the physical of the like muscle building and all the other weight related, but even the mental health because it helps produce serotonin and dopamine, which are the two natural happy pills your brain produces as a result of a workout. Um, but well, a lot of people, it's not just the exercise itself they need, but they need to be in the sun. So a lot of people are even more refreshed after and inclined to do a workout that's outdoors. Like my gym has outdoor workouts where, like a cycling class, you actually go bring your own bicycle and we go through quote trails, which are actually man-made trails that are like squiggly lines that pass between different sections of a certain community that's around the
Mhm.
area of the gym.
Nice.
So they're bike trails. They're not actual trails because they're winding sidewalks, but still we go around them and it's the outdoor but physical activity kind of integration.
Mhm.
So then you got the natural calamity that's like calm and soothing. You got the social part that's interactive and mood boosting, especially for extroverts. And then you've got the brain getting more serotonin and dopamine going that gets you happier. You're hitting three angles instead of just two.
Right.
When you work in a gym, like we're actually indoors, as opposed to with a gym group, if you're actually indoors, you usually end up with sometimes the interaction, especially if you're in a group like a class, I go to workout classes. I don't do independent workouts. But the class, so there's this social interaction of where you're working together, especially when you said, okay, pair up with somebody to do this exercise. And you probably have somebody you learned that's your favorite to pair up with on that exercise. So there's some social, but there's also the physical activity, but there's not the sun.
Right.
But when we get to what seems so ideal, that's the outdoors, we've got, then to worry about if I do that workout too often, I'm spending so much time in the sun, I could be basically killing myself with skin cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, because you know how these modern day things have found it's no longer considered a good thing health wise to be olive or dark. Like how white
Right.
people get tanned and they try
Super
to
tanned.
they try to darken up, and then there's people like my sister-in-law who's Hispanic who says, I don't get it. Why do all these white people want to be brown? If they want to be brown, I'll just switch bodies with them. I come on, I want to be white. Here, you can be brown. Take my skin. But in the end, what is it really, when it comes to this, like her joke, that nobody's ever happy with what they're given. You're dealt a handful. And
Grass is always greener somewhere else.
Somewhere that's not mine, no matter who says
That's
it,
right.
right?
The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence.
Right. It's always the other side that has it better. Like, I think sometimes how I feel like I'm not blessed, and I say this in honor of God, because I can't have a car. I can't have my own house. I can't do a lot of things normal people do because of the fact I'm disabled.
Right.
And then there's the other side that sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I don't have a car to worry about managing because it breaks down these all sudden unexpected bills that, like I've seen with my parents' cards, because my parents give me rides around town and also Uber. And I've dealt with where I would feel just stressed enough just trying to help them manage their car. And when I'm helping, I'm not doing the regular, neither am I doing it all the time like someone who actually owns a car. And then neither am I dealing with the stress of the bill you got to keep paying to keep that car.
Or the gas prices as they skyrocket.
And then auto insurance.
Yep.
Especially when it's full coverage and not just liability.
Regular oil changes. Flat tires.
Well, I was going to say maintenance, but yeah, that kind of stuff is the maintenance of its quote good health to be able to be used.
Yep, because my car's in the garage right now because I can't use it because it's got a flat tire and I didn't have the $200 to go get the new tire.
Right. So see, you're giving an example of what I'm saying. That's where I think, these people can just drive themselves and go wherever they want and however they please. They're not like me stuck having to pay $20 just to go get a coffee.
Right.
The Uber ride, And, these other things, it's basically the mindset. The mindset. Okay, so I should be praising God that I don't have to worry about all those things we're talking about, right?
Right.
But instead, I'm sitting here going, why can't I be like normal people? And I see the positive side I'm missing, but not looking at the negative side that I'm glad I'm not missing.
Right.
So it's still that perception that's always occurring on the other side. Even like my analysis right there said, well, I don't want to deal with all those bills. It's stressful enough helping out. I much less be required to regularly do these certain things as opposed to occasionally help out, like the cleaning and the polishing,
right?
Vacuuming, all that kind of stuff. So if I get tired of helping someone else out, I for sure would wear out myself of being required to do it all the time instead of help that's an occasional thing. So then when I look at it realistically, I'm like, you know what? I'm so sensitive to stress, and my therapist and I are coming to realize I may only be able to work about 5 or 7 hours a week regularly. in order for my health to not plummet, but to still work. And I really should be looking at that saying, praise God, I get to spend more time doing hobbies and not working.
Yep.
Or praise God, I can go get coffee and meet up with my friends, at least the ones that are local to me, and have, WebEx or Google Meet meetings with my friends that are at a distance, like Mayaka. And
Right.
I mean, I should be saying, praise God, I got more time to go to church. Go worship him.
Exactly.
I mean, all these things we can do if we don't have to work. And then it goes back to the mindset thing of, it's like, one reason they knew I was disabled is that I longed to and cried over the fact that I cannot work full time like normal people.
Mm-hmm.
I cried over it. I remember when
yeah.
I had my hearing for disability, I was like, I've tried and tried and tried. I really have tried, and I've tried so hard to make a living. I really want to be independent, have my own money, have my own job, get my own place, but I just can't. And then I just cried.
Mm-hmm.
I actually bawled when they heard with the judge telling him that how bad I wanted to work, but I just can't.
Yeah.
And he saw that I was reporting income every year, but he looked at it and he saw that it was not gainful income. So that's
Right.
why he declared that I was disabled, even though I was able to work. Just I can't work full time.
Exactly.
So anyways, all that to say, there's a beauty in it I could be looking at that, okay, well, people don't understand that I need to reduce my load, but that means I also have more time for hobby, going to the gym, social events, Bible study, all these. But how many of us actually look at that versus the longing for what someone else has that we wish we had? Like with me, a
Yeah.
struggle. I want to work a full-time job. I want to be normal. But then
Mm-hmm.
normal people want to be me.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that goes with the whole idea of acceptance. With mental health, I think we struggle more with that wanting to be somebody else than the typical person does. Especially when we believe that our quality of life is not good. Whether it's depression,
Mm-hmm.
PTSD, it's anxiety, it's panic, it's schizophrenia, it's anything. Or even if it's more neurological, like my Asperger's, my autism, or whatever. Like having any kind of condition that even could be even more than just the mental health scope of it, that we often see other people have life better than we do. And how many times is that just in our head? Because if we really knew what all these other people are going through, like for example, I got reality check. There was points I wish I was my stepmom because she's the one that makes a big six-figure kind of job.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one I probably told you that was recognized third most influential woman in all of Texas.
Right.
And so here she's got all these achievements and she's got this really big income. That's why I've got my own apartment in her house in a 5-bedroom house, 2 suites. So you get it, big house, and she can
Right.
afford it, and
Right.
she can afford everything I do. That she gives me money for the Ubering and everything. So I'm thinking, oh, I want to be that person. And then there's the reality that I realize she some days starts work at 6:30 or 7 in the morning and isn't home till 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I am like, how in the world does she do that? She doesn't hardly have a life outside of her job.
Exactly.
And then I realized how hard they pushed her and how hard people, even when she was sick with pneumonia and she had to take a week out of work because she couldn't get out of bed. People still barging with her with, you need to interview this job candidate because we have to fill it by tomorrow. She is freaking sick and in the bed. Can't even get out of bed.
Yeah.
What are you doing telling her she has to work?
Yeah.
But that's the reality with, the jobs that pay the higher money
Oh,
is that they're a
yes.
lot more stressful than a struggling class full-time job. And often it's the family and everybody else in a household that enjoys the benefit of their big income and not the person themselves who's hustling to try to get it.
Yeah.
They themselves usually are, if they are able to be paid that salary, they're worked way more than 40 hours a week.
Definitely.
And it's like, so maybe then I think of it and I say, maybe I do have the better bargain. I get to spend the money, but I don't have to worry about doing all the work to keep it coming in. But it goes back to mindset, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So then we need to work on our mindset, seeing the positive of where we are. So I would ask myself, what do I like about my life? What do I like about my situation? What are some positive things about different aspects of my life? Like, let's say, what's something positive about the fact that I'm disabled and cannot work full-time job? Well, then I could give an answer like, I get to do all the working out I want. Even to a point that my masseuse knows me as being, instead of job focused, he sees me as being exercise focused type person.
Mm-hmm.
He calls me the exercise focused type gal. He says, you're always focused on exercise. He said, I get some patients that come in here and they do desk jobs. And I'm kind of giggling to myself and I'm going, I'm both. So he identifies me as one. I identify myself as another, but just trying to take care of my health. And then the reality is I'm both.
Yep.
But it's all about perception then again. So I could say, well, I wish he understood how disabled I was and how bad my back pain is and all these other things. That's why I see him. But then there's also seeing well, hey, at least I could go any day during the week as long as it's his working hours because, I got money on my card to go Uber. I got Uber that comes at my beck and call. And, well, normal people don't have that.
Mm-mm.
I mean, because normal people, they have to be at a certain place at a certain time on a certain schedule. And even if it's work from home, they have to be in a certain type environment. Like my stepmom, when she works from home, she's downstairs in her office, but she tells me time to time she didn't get a chance to go pee because they have her so back to back and she's shaking her legs while sitting in that chair to try to keep herself because
Yeah.
they won't let her even a 5-minute break.
Yeah. Exactly.
So she gets to work from home, but then again, it's still she has to be where they tell her to be. So she can't just pick up and go off and say, I'm going to go for a coffee and have this meeting on my phone.
Right.
I mean, no, because then they'll be like, hey, what are you doing in the loud background of Starbucks? And then they'll get an idea that she's not working and that's why she's roaming it during the meeting or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then there's the realization that something great about my life, I could say, is that I have more freedom because I write my books, but I can write them from anywhere. I can do my podcast, but I know places besides home where it's quiet and I can get it done, right?
Right.
And so then again, it's the mindset of focusing on the positive. So what's great about my life? Okay, so how about you try it? What is something positive about your life and in what situation? My example was on disability. What's your example?
My example would be that I have the flexibility to do my job wherever I need to be. When my husband had a stroke and as he was getting back to work, if he had needed to actually go into his office, he wouldn't be able to drive because of his stroke. But my job is flexible enough that I could take my job with me, just like you'd take your podcasts or anything with you. And I could have worked from a library near his office. So that's a very positive thing about my job.
So like you're saying, both of our jobs are mobile. They can be done from
Exactly.
anywhere as long as it's in the appropriate environment.
Exactly.
Okay. So that says that with you, work is a positive side of life And especially as far as work itself, the positive side is the flexibility and mobility. So then,
Exactly.
what would be your idea of another question to ask related to the perspectives? Thinking positive. So I gave the idea of work and disabled. What's another idea you would give that has to do with something that you identify as?
My ability to be a scout leader with the American Heritage Girls that I work with. Is that what you mean? The fact
Well,
that
it's
I
part of
can,
how you identify yourself, yeah,
yeah,
because it's
the
something
fact
you
that
do.
I can
Yeah.
take part in that and help young kids see the positives in their life and how God is focusing them and molding them into being women of integrity.
So that sounds like you're saying that through that avenue in that organization, you see yourself as a role model, a guide, a leader, maybe even an inspiration, and maybe even in some degrees ministry, because you're saying seeing the godly woman as opposed to just the drive to work or something, right? You see the
Right.
godly woman. So that sounds like ministry is part of it, and you basically set forth
Definitely.
things in that.
Definitely.
So I think it comes down to all of us have something. I mean, I don't want to like say we should have ego, but we all have something better than other people. But then there's always the balance that we have something else that's worse than other people. And that's why I believe that we can have a positive perspective on our life by
Yeah.
focusing on the good things, and making
Well,
use of the good things to do good for other people.
yeah.
But also that it's a matter of finding contentment and joy in the positives and focusing on them instead of the negatives, with the realization that everybody has something that they're worse at, some area they struggle, and that they're below other people, while they all have some area they're better or more skilled than other people. So in the end, it goes to the idea of equality, and a lot of our coping could be beneficial if we focused on the positive of that something. So it's
Yeah.
mindset, the key for today.
Definitely.
Focusing on the positives of our situations, whether it's like me tomorrow going through surgery and I'm thinking, oh, good, I'm going to have a break from work.
Yeah.
I mean, or it's, you know, the missing work, as much as I love what I do, and working with UEJ and the rest of the team and all we do together, and then all these ideas like you heard Kurt talking about, there are new ventures to grow a
Mm-hmm.
business. I mean, okay, so there's all this excitement, but then there's still that where it's like, I think I can sit here and drink a coffee while having this, and I can endure it. I mean, versus the because I remember when I tried working a job straight out of college. I was in my last semester of grad school. Um, it was an accounting job. This was the one
Mm-hmm.
where I started off as a comptroller. A program that usually has a position that usually gets paid, give or take, 300,000, and usually requires having a CPA license and a master's degree. And here I was in my last semester before having it, and someone just let me come in as a entry candidate for that job.
Right.
Anyways, I remember he made a big deal that I made too many trips to the kitchen for coffee, and he didn't think I had enough time to work. And he said if I wouldn't stop drinking that coffee and focus on getting stuff done, that he was going to take the coffee out of there, or that I would have to go, and he'd keep the coffee for everybody else that does fine using it. I was struggling to stay awake.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was meaning that I had to, at that time, I had to do an hour and a half drive to the other side of Houston. So, so if I had to be there at 8, I usually arrived around 7:15 by leaving at, about 6 o'clock.
Right.
So I could eliminate traffic, and that eliminated 15 minutes. And man, in 30 minutes, 7:15 to 7:45, I would take a nap in my car after I arrived before actually going in the building to go in 15 minutes early.
Mhm.
I just couldn't stay awake. But that's why I tried
Yeah.
taking naps and everything. I tried going to bed early. I tried all that. But
Mhm.
then the more I tried that was the more I needed coffee to keep me awake to get anything done. And in the end, that led up to part of what confirmed me being disabled is that my brain physically cannot function at the level of normal people or for the length of time of normal people. That is why I can't stay awake at certain hours of the day. No matter how much caffeine I have, I can't stay awake.
Right.
And I mean, I even have an alarm that goes off so loud that my parents who are downstairs on the opposite side of the house can hear my alarm go off, and I sleep right through it. And it's at the maximum volume.
Wow.
And that I sleep right through it if it's in these certain hours of the day. The normal people like them are actually leaving for work. And I'm trying to just get out of bed. But I sleep right through it. Now, if it's, and that's like, say, 6 o'clock, 6:30, and 7, right?
Mhm.
So my mom leaves at 7. She gets it there in time for starting work about 7:45. Anyways, but then there's me that if the alarm goes off before 7 or 7:30, I don't even know that it went off. I don't even know that it's not broken. I sleep through
Yeah.
it so deep.
Yeah.
So it was proven that neurologically I cannot function at those certain hours because I can't even get out of bed.
Right.
So here I tried, and I could sit here and be like, I wanted that job so much. I wanted that job, and I want my coffee, and okay, sit back, refocus. Look where you are now. You don't have to do what he tells you to do.
That's right. You're the boss.
Exactly. And I don't mean that like that makes like being a boss makes me better than anybody else, but I'm in what is my ideal,
Mhm.
regardless of that. Yes, I am disabled, but I still am in what is my ideal world as far as having a business, having something to do with my time, making a little bit of money, and serving a purpose with all these freedoms. So refocus. Here is the great thing about my situation that came out of all these related to my traumatic brain injury and all these other things that are why my brain doesn't work like normal people. But there's a hidden gift in it.
Definitely.
Because before brain surgery and I had a whole brain, you would have thought that was the time when I had a piece of my brain missing because I couldn't understand stuff that was not literal.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like a comedian myself, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, I even get you joking on the mental health awareness.
Exactly. Well, joking is a great part of mental health, like you've said.
Well, yeah, because especially like when you're depressed, if someone says something funny enough, you can't help but to laugh at it, and then hopefully, if it keeps reoccurring enough with enough humor, it pulls you out, and you're like at least happy, if not necessarily finding things funny. You're more content or something like that.
Absolutely.
And then there's a reverse effect of when we get anxious, if we get giggly, we feel relief. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So it calms us from anxiety and it boosts us from depression. But it was all humor.
Yeah.
And then again, at least what you and I can pull is not an insult to anybody of any certain group or whatever. It's just pure comedy, clean comedy.
Yep. Yep. Just life comedy.
Yeah. it's diverse and welcomes diversity, and is just everyday humor of, like this case, our perspectives. How can we ever imagine that I'd miss out by not being able to go an hour and a half drive to get to work, when I would in turn get a 5-minute wake up and then rush to the other side of the wall and you're at work on a podcast now.
Yep.
Why do I miss getting a job, having a job, when I could sleep that late? Then, that's just, sometimes it's all about our mentality, the way
Yep,
we
it
think
is.
about it, the way we see things.
It is totally, but it's human nature to want what you don't have.
It is, but it's not necessarily a good thing.
No, it's not.
When it's not an essential, like to need groceries to eat dinner, yes.
Sure.
To need a place to live, yes. But something we were working on in my Bible study that I found was very therapeutic was going through all of our stuff and getting rid of whatever we have that's been so long since we've used that we don't even know we even own it or have it.
Mm-hmm.
And
covered in dust.
Maybe. Depends. Some of mine have been kept clean enough by our maids that it doesn't have dust, but neither do I know I had it anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
okay, now
the
you're
idea
just
is,
making me jealous that I don't have a maid.
oh Lord. Hey, I don't get to pick her. And neither do I get to pick it. And my stepmom makes her come at 7:30 in the morning. That's before I can even usually get out of bed.
Yep.
And so the agreement is that if Madre is going to make me have to get out before I can even wake up, she has to be the one to come upstairs an hour before the lady gets here to wake me up.
Yeah.
Because I have failed it with that alarm, like I was explaining.
Right.
At the maximum volume, if it's before a certain time, I slip right through it. Madre be like, okay, we'll be up by such and such time, and I'll take you to Starbucks. Unless you want to go to Lifetime to get your exercise. Just tell me where you're going to go, and I'll take you. But we just have to be out by such and such time because the maids are coming. and we'll be on our way to wherever place after she wakes me up. I throw clothes on, get all my stuff together with like my couple of computers and other things I need to do my podcast or whatever on those Fridays from like the coffee shop where you see me time to time.
Right.
And I'm drinking an energy drinks, still trying to get my brain going. And I've told Madre so many times, it takes me 2 hours just to wake up enough to actually function and process information. Oh, I know, honey. And then she'd give me a to-do list when she first wakes me up. Are you sure you know? Are you sure you know? Because you're expecting me to remember this to-do list, and I don't even have a short-term memory anymore. Neither am I fully awake, and I've told you it takes me 2 hours to wake up. But the minute you see my eyes open, you start giving me a to-do list. Okay, I'm going to this, and this is what I need you to do.
Oh goodness!
But it's, I don't know, just kind of a little comical, She says she understands, but in reality, unless somebody's in their shoes, do they really understand?
No, I don't
exactly.
think they do. You can't.
And I don't know how many times I have told her in the 2 years I've been free of seizures, how many times I've said, Marjorie, I can't even tell you what I did this morning. Or it'd be in the morning time, and she'll be like, what are you doing today? And I'm like, I don't know. I got to get my phone out to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what? You don't know where you're going? And I said, well, all I know is right now I'm headed to, and then, whichever place, the coffee shop or the bookstore or wherever I'm going. And, okay, well, what are you going to do there? I don't know. Let me see what my plans are. I need to get my phone out. Madre, do we have to talk about it now? I don't have my phone with me. I actually have to, as my mom said, I have found a way to function within my limitations. And she said the key to success when you're disabled is being able to function within your limitations, not trying to eliminate your limitations.
Right.
And she says I did well functioning in it in the way that I use my Google calendar and set reminders so many minutes ahead of time for stuff I need to schedule. So it tells me 3 days ahead if I need to schedule something. So I can schedule with whoever and they have ahead of time notice. And others that's after it's already scheduled, but reminding me of when to be where. It's say 30 minutes ahead if I have to Uber there. So I have 30-minute time to get over there. Or 10 minutes if it happens online and I'm from wherever place I already am. And I just have to have time to set up my computer and certain things, right?
Right.
But still, I have these reminders and I have a schedule. I can't memorize it anymore. But I function well with the modern day electrical calendar. So even if it's someone uses an Apple calendar instead of a Google calendar, or the Hotmail's what do they call that one by Microsoft, but their calendar,
Right.
There's so
Outlook.
many of them. So whichever one you use, I found a way that worked for me. That's how I can function, and people wouldn't even know, except for people like Marjorie who never learned that I don't have a memory anymore.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I have to do a lot of those same things, and I'm not disabled.
Well, Marjorie says hers comes with age, and she thinks I got a great memory. I'm like, really, Marjorie? How'd you say that when I don't even know where I was this morning? I can't even tell you who I saw. I can't even tell you the full list of all my business connections. I know their faces. Some of them I've met with, and I see on my calendar, I'm like, who the heck was that? I'm like, I don't remember who he was, or was it even a she? What do you mean I have a good memory? I mean, have you seen how many times in our meetings when I'm talking to Kurt and he said, hey, you remember such and such that we were talking about it back within how many months ago? And I'm like, remind me who he is?
Yep.
I
Give me a few more clues. I might figure it out.
Right? And I do sometimes. And other times I'm like, I have no clue who you're talking about. I don't know if I even met him. And then he'll say, well, I see on your schedule such and such date. And I was there. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. But see, we see some humor in it now, right?
Yes. As long as we can keep the humor and not let it get us frustrated.
Exactly. And to keep the frustration down, to accommodate for ourselves, like with my example of the Google Calendar I have set to give me reminders. And that I have a phone that's easy to use for me, or with you, it may be your computer. And so at least one thing you remember is to check your calendar first thing in the morning.
Yep.
So you figure out where you need to be when. But you also, whenever something happens, you remember put it on the calendar, even if it leaves your mind after it's on the calendar.
Exactly.
So the 2 key steps we have to do. But we've limited it to 2 instead of remembering all the stuff that's on our calendar.
Right.
But the key is we found ways to do those 2 steps. We found solutions. And by using those 2 steps, we function within our limitations.
Yep.
So that's another key of mental health awareness and issues related to it, is that some disabilities, people have to actually have guides, whether it's a therapist or a psychologist or it's a vocational counselor or whoever, some kind of professional, to give them where those 2 steps, to identify them and tell them how to achieve it.
Right.
Step by steps. And other people like you and me can identify it for ourselves. But the key is that's one of the things we all need. Whatever's our mental health condition, we all need that, because in some way or another, a lot of different mental health conditions cause us to be forgetful.
Absolutely.
Like, think about what you talk about with your anxiety. When you're in those spells, you can't forget about that one thing, but everything else you did forget about. I mean, I know those from my anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, such as I already told you. I remember that. Well, if I told you, why don't I remember telling you? Okay, Elaine, that's enough.
So this has been good. What else have you got going on? I know you had your book coming out and how people can reach you to be on this podcast if they would like. Tell us a little bit about that. We'll be closing out here in a few minutes.
All right, then. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please be sure to share and subscribe. If you would like to learn more about myself, Jennifer A. Whitaker, the author/host, you can go to www.jensbooksandmore.com. That's JENNS booksandmore.com. You can also go on your favorite social media or podcast app and look up JAWS Coffee Chat, JAWS Coffee Chat. You can also go on Google and look up books by Jennifer A. Whitaker to find various books I write if you want to shop directly on your favorite website, whichever bookstore or whatever you use, or even to look up other places like my social medias and so forth to find us and follow us. We are having a special starting on Wednesday at what time was that? Our Wednesday, was it 2 p.m. Central, I think?
I think so.
Let's see.
You talk about it and I'll look up the time.
So EJ's going to find the time, but on Wednesdays, that starts this week, which will be Wednesday, May 24th. We will be every Wednesday at this certain time having special announcements related to Down for Smiles. That's in honor of an event happening in Conroe, Texas. That's the northern part of the Houston, Texas area. That is by a foundation that is trying to raise funds to help those with Down syndrome. So we'll be having those specials to talk about what all is going on with Down syndrome, what their event will hold, where it will be, the exact address, everything you want to know to possibly find it on our podcast, or it's even better, go to the event yourself and plan ahead for this June, I think it's 17th. I think it's 10 a.m. until like 10 p.m. or something like that. But it's pretty much 10 a.m. Central in Conroe, Texas, all-day event to help those with Down syndrome. They will use your funds that you buy for your admission ticket and so forth to help find a cure and to also provide treatment to those who cannot afford treatment.
And yes, it is 2 p.m. Central, 3 o'clock Eastern for the promos that we'll be talking on for Down for Smiles.
There we go. So please stay tuned for those and follow us on whatever platform, social media or podcasts or wherever to find those. And you will find the show happens on the June 17th. And it may be the following week before we get it on air, but we'll be bringing it to you on air if you can't make it or if it's too far. We also are featuring, you may be aware of our 10 a.m. Central Time, every other Friday, Afro International podcast show. And that's about the Afro International Market and Film Festival. And if you are in any way related to the film production industry, we ask you to tune in and also listen for details to learn more about the event and how it may be beneficial to you or others you know. because this is an actual event being held in Atlanta that we're having a show about every other Friday. That started this past Friday, which was, I think, let's see, say, oh, the 19th, I think.
The 19th.
Yeah,
Yes.
this started on May 19th, and it's going to be every other Friday after it until the event that's actually happening in October of 2023. And back to you, EJ.
Right. Well, thank you to everybody who has been here listening to us today or tuning in to one of our recordings on our various platforms through Lawrence Wingate TV, Marcus Hart's Transform You Media, Zach Clayton, PAC Channel, and Jay Stoyan of the Diversity Channel. We appreciate their playing these on their platforms. Be sure to tune back in. I believe our next mental health awareness will be June 12th after Jennifer gets back from her leave, correct? You're off for 2 weeks, correct?
It could be possible. I only know that I'm out tomorrow through Friday. There's a possibility I could be back next week. So let's just say the next 2 episodes are in the air, but definitely 3 Mondays from today, we would know for sure we'll be back.
Excellent. That's Monday at 2:30 p.m. Central, 3:30 Eastern. Again, be sure to subscribe to our channel and pages where you found out about us, and check out the websites to find out more about this and all our other shows. So until next time, we wish you a productive and enjoyable week. Take care and be happy.